Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Local Control Subcommittee meeting. It is Tuesday, May 27th. We're going to go ahead and begin the meeting at 5:02 p.m. This evening, we have with us here Mr. Devin Sheehan in person and Mayor Garcia on Zoom, as well as myself, Mildred Lefebvre, as the chair. If we could all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Thank you, and I'm just going to read the same rules as always. On March 29, 2023, Governor Healy signed into law an act relative to extending certain state of emergency accommodations, which, among other things, extends the expiration of the provisions pertaining to the open meeting law to March 31st, 2025. Specifically, this extension allows public bodies to continue holding meetings remotely without a quorum of the public body physically present at a meeting location and to provide adequate alternative access to remote meetings. The act does not make any new changes to the open meeting law other than extending the expiration date of the temporary provisions regarding remote meetings from March 31st, 2023 to March 31st, 2025. Pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20, I am hereby informing all attendees that a video and audio recording is being made of the meeting, and the meeting is being live streamed and run live on the city's community TV channel. We're going to go ahead to the first item on the agenda, new business, discussion on exit assurances. We're happy to have Secretary and Interim Commissioner of Education, Dr. Tutwiler, as well as Lauren Wu from DESE, if they want to come on camera. Or not. Are they there? I just don't want to start anything yet without. Oh. Mayor Garcia, can you come off of come back off of mute and come on video, as well as Secretary Tutwiler and Lauren Wu? Oh, hi. I was like, hi. I know they're there.
No,
Oh, just keep your eyes on the road. Sorry, Mayor.
I'm like 2 minutes there. I'll be there in a couple minutes.
I will talk very slow. Okay, so good evening, Secretary Tutwiler and Ms. Wu. Thank you for being here this evening. So we're going over the first item of discussion on the agenda, which is the exit assurances. This morning, you probably received something from Jennifer Wu, one of the questions in regards to the exit assurances, which hopefully you can answer this evening. But I'm going to go ahead and open discussion first and see if our member, Mr. Sheehan, has anything he'd like to ask, comment.
I don't. I'm just more curious and now what questions got sent in.
I was the only one who sent in a question because I received an email from Miss Wu, Jennifer Wu, requesting that if there are any questions ahead of time that the school committee members would like to submit, that way we can already send them to the secretary / interim commissioner. So I did send out an email to our vice chair, asked that it please be sent out to all members, and if any questions, please be sent over so that way we can send them over to them. I did not receive any, but again, we're open for discussion. So if anyone has anything to ask or say, this would be the time.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, through the process that you took, either the commissioner or the deputy commissioner, what engagement you had with the HTA and MTA, and specifically between the time period of probably after our meeting with Dr. Johnson and the end of March up to the meeting that we had when you presented them. Was that May? End of April, early May?
End of April.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just
So if you're
specifically, like
referring
what the engagement
to,
was. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it probably bears mentioning the entire landscape of engagement, including that before I came in as commissioner, but we'll kind of work in backward fashion.
Great.
Since the meeting that we had in late April, I have had direct conversations with the statewide leadership of MTA around the exit assurances, and I've also met directly with the HTA president to hear concerns and answer questions about what was presented to you all formally at the end of April. Prior to the meeting where we formally presented the exit assurances, I had a high-level conversation with the president of HTA, not about the specifics of exit assurances, but more just sort of reflecting back on the engagement that happened as they were being developed. Lauren, I'll turn to you for the pieces of engagement and collaboration prior to that.
Sure. And then we had 3 meetings with the union, the HTA leadership, the president and vice president of the local leadership, and then their local MTA rep joined us. So the first meeting was in which they just expressed that they, hope that we would engage with them on these exit assurances, since they were part of the conversation and part of these regular meetings that then Acting Commissioner Johnston and myself were joining. We then thought through that and came back to them and said, yes, we would like to engage with you in this process and want to seek your feedback, and actually gave them a little bit of homework where we said, take a look through Appendix A, you know what's in there, but just let's all refresh ourselves and let's come back to the next meeting where we'll hear from you on each of the provisions of Appendix A. We did that then in a subsequent meeting. So that was our 3rd meeting together, in which they provided us with their feedback on each of the provisions, and we took a listening stance to that. And then we had a 4th meeting just with the local MTA rep, Martine Hernandez, myself, then Acting Commissioner Johnston, and Martine, where we got specific language. So if you recall, when the interim commissioner and I came in person and we presented, albeit a slightly complicated PowerPoint and the document, but in the PowerPoint that was presented to you all, the highlighted language was language that we were incorporating based on the meeting with the MTA rep, who was, providing us with information about their feedback, I should say. And so we then incorporated that into what you ultimately saw in the final version. We also met with the full body of the school committee, in which we provided information and had our executive session together until we got to then the full meeting.
And was that like end of March, early April that all of that occurred? Because I mean, Dr. Johnson was here, I think March 28th or so, around there.
Yeah, it was all during March. So I think the initial engagement began at the very end of February, and then throughout March we met. But we really did, when interim Commissioner Tutwiler joined us, it was about really summarizing the substantive meetings that we had about the exit assurances and really talking through how we would release them, how we would, engage with them once they were released to answer any questions that they might have, which, as the commissioner said, we just did about 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
sorry, Mayor Garcia, do you have any questions? No? You're good? Okay. So I know I have my question, but now in regards to the discussions that are happening here, for clarity purpose and basically the understanding, the MTA rep that you were receiving feedback from or what have you, were they acting on behalf of the Holyoke Teachers Association or as MTA?
Our understanding, I mean, again, we met only once alone with that MTA rep. The other times, the HTA president and vice president joined us. And so, but our understanding of that meeting was he was meeting on behalf of the HTA because it was time sensitive and needed to be done during the school day when our vice president and president were teaching.
So then out of curiosity, was that clarified and questioned when you did actually have the time to meet with the HTA president and vice president? Or was it just the assumption that whatever the MTA rep said that was it?
Yeah, I mean, we
Okay.
went with his word.
Okay.
And so
I just want to make sure.
I don't know if there's other information that's been gleaned. I've not been part of those conversations, but certainly in the conversation, it was we went with the trust that we had all together that this was a meeting that we were all everyone was aware of, and everybody was okay with it proceeding in that fashion.
So I just have a few more. So ever since the meeting where the exit assurances were presented, has DESE received feedback or anything from stakeholders from Holyoke in regards to the exit assurances? What has that feedback been?
Yeah, Commissioner, you want to take that? I mean, we did meet with, yeah.
Yes, did receive feedback directly from the HTA leadership. There was, in the spirit of full disclosure, first a concern that the meeting, they were told that there would be a special meeting at which we would show up in person and present these. And the meeting that took place when we presented, they did not think was a special meeting. They thought it was in the normal sort of rhythm of meetings. And so they were concerned and upset about that. And then they are concerned about the meaning behind the word consultation versus bargain. That was the direct feedback that we got.
Okay. And now going to the question that I had sent, which was in regards to the calendar and the school hours. When I look through here, a lot of what it says is that the superintendent will be the one that'll be approving. Now, for me to understand the level of local control that we will be assuming, the hopes July 1st, what would be the role of the school committee at that point with that type of decision in the areas where we have under these exit assurances that it's a superintendent approving?
Yeah. Really good question. And what I would draw your attention to is the language at the top of the document, which says very clearly that these exit assurances will be, carried out in consultation with the school committee. So as you reference the question around school calendar, it says in consultation with the school committee. I would remind you that upon exit from receivership, you restore supervisory and evaluative rights with the superintendent. And so consultation can mean what you define it to mean. You can say to the superintendent, we would like for you to collect broad stakeholder feedback in preparation for your a presentation of the school calendar. I would say additionally, in the reduction in force category, you can say to the superintendent, we as a school committee would like for you to share with us your thinking around how you intend to proceed with this and get our feedback before you establish your plan. And so that relationship shift after the exit from being in receivership uh, does give you wide latitude to ask the superintendent to sort of partner with you on these pretty significant pieces of the school
Okay, because
experience.
I just want to have a full understanding that, consultation, isn't that the word that you guys were just saying a minute ago that everybody's having an issue with? So, but
Mhm.
for us, it's more so, okay, we would be working alongside with the superintendent,
Sure.
but I just want to
Sure.
make sure that at the end of the day, if it becomes the superintendent doing a unilateral decision, that the school committee still has the power to say, we're not approving, so it's not approved. Go back to the drawing
Well,
board and redo? Or would it be falling under, because it's still under the turnaround plan exit assurance, that although we do not agree with the decision of the superintendent, that it still stands? Do you understand?
I do,
Okay.
and thank you for the question. It is the latter, but what I would say is you also regain supervisory and evaluative powers over the superintendent. So you can set expectations around what you would like to see happen as it relates to the development of the calendar or any of the other pieces of the exit assurances. And if those sort of expectations aren't met, then you have within your authority the power to reflect that in your evaluation. Lauren, I'm not sure if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah,
but...
I think I do think that's right. I mean, I think it's worthwhile, and we talked about this sort of relationship and the school committee's role with the supervision of the superintendent in past conversations. But sort of setting expectations around process and being really clear about that up front, and then working with the superintendent to make sure that those elements of the process that the school committee has predefined are actually met throughout the year.
I know Superintendent Soto had a question or a comment.
Yeah, I wanted to name for you as well that I have full intentions at, collaborating with the school committee and in scenarios like that, getting the school committee to vote on, whether it be the school calendar. I know that you guys are going to have the authority to sign the contract the collective bargaining agreement post July 1, which incorporates some of this stuff that's in the exit assurances. So in many ways, the school committee does have the authority to vote on that. If we're doing a reduction in force, like the school committee votes on the budget, and if you guys aren't aligned with, the plans around the reduction in force, then that would be an opportunity to vote against the budget or something like that. But I can tell you that from my perspective that, I have full intentions on, it's more than a consultation with the school committee. Like I've leaned heavily on you guys, and your feedback has really driven a lot of the decision making. Whenever we have to make tough decisions, I would never make a decision if I felt like the entire school committee was against it. But as far as the exit assurances go, I hope we're not in a position where there is a disagreement between what the superintendent wants to do and what the school committee wishes. Like, I know that as long as I'm in this seat, that my approach is going to be to lean on you all heavily and what you all feel is the right thing for Holyoke Public Schools, and then carry that out in the decisions that I have to make.
Thank you, Superintendent. The reason why I ask is because these exit assurances, this is not for 1 year. This is for 2 years. And then after the 2-year reevaluation, it could be extended if need be by the commissioner, correct? If it needs to be
That
extended.
is correct.
And the thing is that we are now getting a new commissioner who has no idea about Holyoke, doesn't know anything about our city, and I'm sure that I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, doesn't really understand because it's very new to everybody what it is to go from receivership back to local control. So we got to make sure as school committee members that we're assured that we have our rights, our responsibilities, and for us to do our due diligence
Absolutely.
and serving our community, because people put us in these seats for a reason, and we got to make sure that we can what do you act out our powers, or however you
Respond.
want to call it.
Yeah.
Our
yeah, absolutely.
responsibilities.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but thank you. Mayor Garcia.
You're welcome. And if I can just respectfully add this thought, I think there were some of the same concerns with me coming into this role and with Acting Commissioner Johnson leaving. You know, this is a transition. What's going to happen? Something's going to get lost in translation. I want to commend my colleague, Dr. Wu, who ensured that no such thing happened. And in as much as a new commissioner will be coming on, neither one of us, neither Lauren nor I, will be leaving. And so we are committed to ensuring that Holyoke is supported and that transitions are smooth and that the new commissioner is fully updated on all of the processes. I'm sure he'll want to come visit and spend time in the community as well. And so I am committing to you that we will sort of stay the course here.
Sounds great. Thank you so much. Mayor Garcia, do you have anything to share now, or are we good? Okay.
All good.
Oh, okay. I thought you were like getting ready to say something, because when you do that shift in your chair and you're like, oh, good, and it looks like you're going to say something. Well, I thank you both so much for coming here this evening. We'll schedule another meeting in June. The local control subcommittee will continue even after the transition back again. So as we are going to be going through these exit assurances and this sort of turnaround plan continuum. But thank you again for coming.
A pleasure.
Have a great
Good evening.
great evening. I was going to say
Nice to
great
see
day.
everyone.
Thank you. So we're going to go ahead and move to second item on the agenda, which is the district transition plan. Mr. Sheehan, I know that there was some, I don't know, maybe you can give a better explanation as to this part of the.
Yeah, I'm just wondering either now or in the June meeting if we can have kind of an overview from the superintendent on what is going on in his office and with the district to transition back, and how he is training his staff on different things where there's reporting authorities that change and governance models that change, what that process looks like and how that's going to look for July 1. Like I said, either now, I mean, it's obviously a topic now, so it can be in the June meeting, but just something to have that like overview of what's being done to prep people.
Do we want to see that more as a full school committee topic, or more so we take it from here and bring it back?
I think it's all part of this transition, so I think
Okay.
it's in the purview of the committee.
Superintendent Soto?
Yeah, so my thought, I've been thinking a lot about this actually, and what I want to put together is actually like a typical project plan like we have for all of our benchmarks. So we go through, set our benchmarks, and then for every benchmark there's an entire project plan that has dates, who's assigned to it, and all that. And I think the driver in all of this is going to be the school committee policies. So my plan is really to do a thorough review of all the policies. And I'm going to work with Erin Linville as well to do a thorough review of all the policies. And depending on what, for the student policies, for example, like Mr. Mogel, who kind of leads the charge on the student handbook. He'll be reviewing all of those sections. The personnel ones, Beth will be reviewing all of those policies in detail. And our plan is to come together and where there is school committee approval or involvement required, we want to just name what and reference what policy this action item speaks to, and literally put together in chronological order, based on our review of the policies, all the things that have to happen, and then use that as a guide to, update staff that need to be updated. So I'm thinking that with Beth's review of the personnel and my review of the personnel and Aaron's review of personnel, and then with Mogel's review of the student policies, with Mr. Mangano's review of all the finance policies and mine and Aaron's, that we're all going to collectively come up with like a project plan of like on July 1st, you have to make sure that the school committee approves XYZ based on policy BDA. On August 1st, you have to make sure, and then there will be some that aren't specifically dated, that we'll have to create a separate section for. But right now, that's really what I'm thinking, and obviously engaging the school committee in what we end up coming up with over the summer.
Mr. Sheehan, do you have anything else to share? Or we're good?
Yeah, and I think it's also, at least as people get acclimated to this, though, is also understanding that the approval process on things changes a lot too with different things, and that just with that your support staff is fully, like July 1 things change, and like we have 2 more meetings before July 1, and then we potentially only have 1 meeting in July, 1 meeting in August. There's a lot of planning with this that wouldn't normally have to occur because it would be a normal course of business for places. So I just think like I don't want a bunch of stuff to come into your office on July 1 and it have to sit until July 21st, I think, is when our meeting is scheduled, because things change. So I just think like governance and authority wise, just that some of those things are being dealt with now. So there's preparation, either things are getting approved ahead of time or whatever it may be. But I just think there's going to be a shift in, I think, efficiency for a period of time that goes on. And I think that's also going to it will impact not only the school department, but also the city, because like, I know that someone reviews all the warrants, but right now it's not required that every warrant be signed. I know that's our practice, but it's not a requirement. Like now everything's going to be signed and bills won't be paid. Like there's just different things. And I think it's going to have a trickle down effect that we just need to be ready for. So we don't have then vendors calling up saying, where's the money? And there's warrants sitting because someone's on vacation. Like, I think there's just a lot to happen in a short amount of time now. And I just think around that process. So whatever that plan is, I mean, I know what you said sounds good, but I think there's some things in the very short term too, just to prep. And hopefully your staff is reading all those policies now, because the policies that are in play until they're changed. So even what's out there, if there's certain powers in those policies, like that's the rules to follow until we vote to change those policies. Because I mean, I know they're still reviewing them, but there could be old policies and those are still in effect, like, even if they're old.
Right. And so let's use, for instance, you talked about the student handbook. So that's something that the school committee approves annually. We're supposed to. But any changes, what's the process, right? It's not something that you just do, and because we haven't done that in the 10 years we have not approved that kind of stuff. So yes, everything changes as of July 1st. So it's kind of the process, and I'm making sure that everything's done in a timely manner from there.
Yeah. And so like there's now, right? And then there's post July 1. And I think there's going to be some areas where we're, so I guess the school improvement plans is an example of that, right? Mm-hmm. There's language in one of the policies that talks about school improvement plans, and the school committee and superintendent, the superintendent in collaboration with the school committee, getting, approval of the school improvement plans. So, for this year, and it says something by July 1, right? So I have them on the agenda, that, and in our current practice, which is what we're going to do this year, we have, we don't have school improvement plans finalized until June 27th. So like, my plan for this year is to email them to you, once we get those plans and they're reviewed by academics. We have a June leader retreat where the principals are going to get together, and we want to create 4 cycles of improvement, because what has happened in the past is school improvement plans are created at the beginning of the year, and then depending on our quarterly SIP reviews, the focus tends to change a little bit based on what's going on in that particular school in that quarter that's concerning, that might shift their focus a little bit. All aligned to the strategic plan, but it might mean that other things that they initially planned to give like detailed attention to has to shift based on, attendance can be one of them, right? Maybe they didn't set at the beginning of the year an improvement goal around attendance, but like attendance is really concerning, so we have to shift our focus in the second quarter to do that. We want to create those 4 cycles of improvement every time we have a SIP review. Principals are going to be creating that first cycle of improvement and finalizing it on June 27th. But it makes me think that next year that timeline doesn't work. Next year we actually have to get principals to probably work on that first cycle of improvement for the upcoming year, which they then need to get our annual district goals set by then, because that's what they're waiting for. We're finalizing our district goals for next year, all aligned to the strategic plan, so that then they can, action plan and create their school improvement plans. But for next year, like I said, I don't think that timeline would work if the school committee wants a little more dialogue back and forth with these school improvement plans. June 27th just isn't going to cut it, right? We probably need to have that done ahead of time in May, and move the whole timeline up. So there's going to be scenarios like that where, what we do for this year, we got to adjust our timeline for next year so that we can make sure to incorporate the school committee's feedback a lot sooner and approval.
Mr. Sheehan?
And I'll actually say the policy actually states that school improvement plans need to be approved by the school committee by February 1.
Yeah.
So that is the earlier time. And that is far too early, I think, anyways. But I'm just saying, like, that was created to give that buffer in the law for a February 1st approval by the school committee to be enacted by July 1.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's things like that we, right now I can approve them on, but like we got to really think about next year what the timeline is going to be for those processes.
And we also have to wait until we get the policies all because
to
they
Devin's point,
they all don't get approved come July 1st. They don't become effective, all the ones that they've reviewed, and because they haven't come to the committee yet, all of them. But as they come, I guess it's really looking back. So these are the most recent. This is what's changing. This is where we're at. So we just got to keep an eye out for that. Mayor Garcia, did you have any questions or comment? You're all good? Alrighty. Oh, Mr. Sheehan.
Just because we're talking about school improvement plans, I mean, just so you're aware, I mean, an act relative to school improvement plans actually didn't require that school committees approve them. They require that the superintendent consult with the school committee at consultation, and there's nothing in there about approval. So it's the school committee policy that actually is stronger and requires approval. So I'm just making that point that we are above what the law says, and an act relative to school improvement plans doesn't require school committee approval, but more consultation.
Yep.
Thank you. All right, going on to agenda item number 3, which is the meeting minutes. We have 2 dates. We have February 19th and March 21st.
Make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of February 19th and March 24th.
Is there a second?
Second.
second by Mayor Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes unanimously. Well, that's the end of our,
Move to adjourn.
move to adjourn. Great. Meeting adjourned at 5:37 PM. Thank you.